Hey, Misfits. I'm your host, Melinda. Thank you for joining Mystery Loves Company. Now hold on to your butts as we go on another mysterious adventure. Let's see what today has in store for us. So we'll start off with James Howell. He bought this property in 2000, and being that this house was so close to Boise State University, many college kids would rent the house. Now, some of these kids were ignorant of what has taken place in this house, and some were intrigued about what has taken place in this house. So we will start off with the frat boys.
Nice.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
You always got to start off with frat boys, right?
Sick, dude. Oh, dude. So rad.
Stop it, bruh.
Threw off my groove.
We're sorry, stereotypical. So a group of fraternity brothers that rented the Chop Chop house went on record and stated that on numerous occasions when they went down into the basement, they saw blood dripping from the walls. Others who spent time in the basement said they just felt off and they couldn't describe it, but it just felt wrong.
And that's where Preston got murdered. So that would make
Was
sense
in the basement.
Why that happened. He got shot in the head and then chopped up. While I'm interrupting you,
Yeah.
do they know that it's the Chop Chop house?
Well, the fraternity brothers?
Yeah. Before they
It
start
actually
living
does
there?
not say. It just says that they went on record to say that they saw these things.
I have a feeling that at least pretty recently, like at least a decade or so after that happened, they're like trying to keep that under wraps. They're like, oh, we need money for these kids to live here.
Oh,
so
yeah, absolutely. And I think at one point in time, it does talk about the owner, who is James Howell. Like, he will fight tooth and nail. He's like, this house is not haunted.
Mm-hmm, sure.
But after you hear these stories, you might say otherwise.
The murder house isn't haunted?
The murder house,
all right,
the Chop Chop house,
buddy, sure,
is haunted.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't even imagine seeing blood dripping from walls. Like, I've seen some shit, right?
Yeah.
But blood dripping from walls?
That's a lot for me.
No, thank you.
That is a lot for me.
No, thank you. Straight gonna pee my pants over that.
Mm-hmm.
No, thanks.
I'd probably pass out.
Honestly. Yeah, that's terrifying. So the next one, someone by the name of Christy said that one night while walking past the house as a young girl, she saw a woman in the upstairs window.
Oh.
She was banging on it and screaming, but Christy couldn't hear anything. Oh. She said she can still recall the incident as if it happened yesterday. So my question...
Who's the woman?
The woman, exactly. It was a man who was murdered in this house. Like, what the hell else happened in this house? And, like, how long had Rogers lived in this house? Was he actually a murderer that people, like, the cops weren't onto? Could he have murdered other people? Like, I mean, the walls in the basement are dripping blood. Doesn't mean it has to be just one person's blood.
Yeah, I'm also sure, because it's such an old house. It's a craftsman style house. Just to put the time frame into perspective, there's got to be at least somebody buried in the backyard or something.
Right. Yeah, and the only thing documented is this murder case. Is the only thing documented on this house that I was able to dig up anyway.
Well, and even the documentation of this murder case, like, most of it I had to get from, like, the court.
Yeah, she had to read court documents.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, oh, this happened. Oh, I forgot. Oh, no. So.
Yeah, so anyway, the fact that a woman was seen, like, that makes me scratch my head.
Did she give any description of, like...
Nope.
Okay. just a woman. We don't know what time period. She didn't look like a Victorian.
Nope, she did not.
Lady.
She just said that she saw a woman in the upstairs window. Keep that in mind. Yeah. Upstairs window.
Right.
Okay? So, because we're going to circle back. We're going to hear another story about the upstairs window.
Oh my God.
But she was banging on it and screaming. But Christy could not hear anything.
Christy, wake up. I don't like this.
Right. Well, Christy's outside. She's a little girl walking down the sidewalk, and she sees this shit. Like,
oh no.
I have no idea where the woman came from. No clue.
Me neither.
Okay, so this story, those were both very, very, very short. Like, a paragraph, maybe. Mm-hmm. Story's different.
Oh, darn it.
This story. This one's a little bit different. So, a man that goes by the name D said that he and his friends had just moved in and hadn't even emptied out all the boxes when shit started. Several boxes and pieces of furniture were still sitting out on the front porch. Late in the evening, D was upstairs with a friend when they both heard footsteps coming up the stairs. He assumed it was his roommate and thought nothing of it. Then, a little bit later, he and his roommate were talking and they both heard it at the same time.
Goddamn mimic.
Mimic.
Those goddamn mimics.
Fucking mimics. They clearly heard someone walk up the stairs, so they both stopped talking, and when they didn't hear anyone go back down the stairs, they became concerned. Wondering who was in the house, they went to check it out. Dee was worried someone had broken into their house, and for a moment he was certain of it when he saw what he thought was their shadow. He quickly realized the shadow wasn't attached to anyone, and it was moving around on its own. Hoping that he was not actually seeing this, Dee and his roommate decided to run out and stand on the front porch. If someone was inside the house, they didn't want to be stuck inside with them, and when whomever was in there decided to come out, they wanted to be able to get a good look at them to report it to the police. So this is around midnight.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, do we know like what year roughly this is?
No.
Okay.
No, I wondered that too.
Okay.
I really did. I wanted to find a time frame.
Because right now it's like abandoned. It's boarded up, right? There was a time period where it was. It's still
owned though.
It's owned, but it's like not lived in.
Right.
By people.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's because nobody can stay there.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Not super relevant.
No, do not be sorry. So anyway, this is this is around midnight when all of this is taking place. So in the moonlight, Dee starts seeing a black figure moving around in his peripheral vision. A moment later, his friend says, "Are you seeing that too?" The two stepped off the porch and into the lawn, undecided on if they should go back inside or not. They both hoped that they had both just got worked up over nothing. In a new house, in a new area, in the dark, in the night, and the eerie quiet. But then they both noticed movement above them.
Oh.
They both looked at the window upstairs.
Again.
They gasped and knew there was no intruder. At least not a human one, anyway.
Yeah.
In the window, clear as day, there stood a big, black, oily-looking thing.
Oily?
Oily.
Why is it oily?
Well...
Oh.
Have you ever seen that movie? What is it? Oh, gosh, it was an old... Was it Freak Show? Was it Freak Show 2? I think it was a Stephen King movie where it's got that big black blob that kind of takes down the raft and is chasing after these kids. Okay, I'm aging myself. Anyway, that's what I picture.
I've not seen that. I'm sorry.
Is it? I think it's Freak Show or Freak Show 2, The Raft or something like that. Okay, we're going to have to look that up.
God, I'm just thinking of just the most macabre images. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Is he, like, making a mess?
Well, okay, so
I'd be pissed. Be like, hey, first of all, what the fuck?
Make a mess in my new house.
Make a mess. I
bro.
am not even unpacked.
Right. So, okay, we'll backtrack. Clear as day, there stood a big black, oily-looking thing. Then it began moving. First toward the dresser, then away from the window, and toward the door, until it was completely out of view. A moment later, Dean noticed a mirror that he still had on the front porch with some other items that had not yet been moved into the house.
Oh, no.
Mirrors. Fuck those mirrors.
God. The foreshadowing.
In the reflection of the mirror, movement caught his eyes when he saw a dark, pulsating orb floating down the stairs.
Whoa.
The reflection of the orb grew bigger and bigger until Dee's roommate yells, "Get away from there!" Even though his friend was yelling, he sounded far off in the distance. And Dee heard him, but he couldn't move. And he could not move his body. He was stuck.
He was paralyzed?
Yes. His eyes were stuck on the mirror. Soon the reflection of the black orb took up the entire mirror until it started to emerge from the mirror. It rapidly flew across the porch and approached Dee's body, as if it were going to enter into him.
Oh.
He felt icy fingers stab into his shoulders. Then his...
It's an orb. It doesn't have fingers.
I
It's
freaking love your
cheating.
commentary.
I'm sorry.
I love it so much.
It's
You're like,
ow. It shouldn't have fingies. It's an orb.
It's got icy sharp fingies.
It's cheating.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay. So, he felt icy fingers stab into his shoulders.
That's so rude.
Then his vision got a bit wonky.
Oh.
His roommate was yelling and yanking on his arm. Then Dee snapped out of his trance. Both men ran quickly to the truck and left. Dee broke his lease and moved out immediately and never returned.
Left all his shit.
No, like he broke his lease and then
Okay.
in the daytime he came back, grabbed his shit and was gone.
Okay.
All gone. No thank you.
God. I'm like picturing like I wouldn't even like it's like paranormal demon, but also like getting like kind of alien vibes. If I think of like an amorphous being, I think like otherworldly. But if it's attached to a mirror, it's clearly like an interdimensional being.
Right. And so I can understand alien-esque if it's taking on a different form, but a black blob, a black sphere.
Well, it's also like distorting space.
And it
because
looks like
he's he said that his roommate, like he could hear his roommate talking, but it seemed like farther away.
Yeah.
So it's like distorting space.
Yeah, he was somewhat in a trance. I don't know.
Okay. I'm here for it. I'm right there with you. Terrified. I also don't have spatial... I don't understand spatially how this all worked. Because I'm like, okay, the mirror's involved, so was there two?
No.
Just like...
So the mirror was on the front porch and it was facing towards the house, like facing towards inside the house. And so the stairs coming down inside the house,
was, like,
it was
looking at itself going down the stairs.
It was reflecting coming down the stairs inside the house, but then at the same time it becomes inside the mirror and then comes out of the mirror towards our good buddy here.
Our good buddy D.
Yeah.
Man, what a rough evening.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Oh.
Well, I mean, he was paralyzed, probably because it was like, yeah, he was coming He was getting both sides, on all sides.
Right, but was he paralyzed out of fear, or was he paralyzed because this orb was starting to consume him?
My boy was trying to get sucked into the other dimension.
I'm pretty sure, like he says that it was coming at him and grabbing his shoulders and whatever. Like it was like he was trying to enter Dee's body and take over Dee, which let's keep that in mind for our next story.
Oh, okay. We're snatching bodies.
Because this next story, whoop whoop. All right, so then we will just segue right into that one. This story is about our good friend Albie. Yes. So Albie, I do know, was completely unaware of the murder house when he moved in, and I do know when this one was. It was late 2007.
Oh, okay.
He got a great deal on this house. Imagine that.
We know who owns the house at this time.
Same guy.
Does the same guy still own the house?
I believe so. Oh. Yeah, I think he rents it out, but I mean, not currently. Like, I'm halfway tempted to rent this house out just to go in there for a day. I'll break the lease.
Sleepover.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. So, he got a great deal on this house. He got some roommates to move in. He's a college kid, and he's just moved out of his home, with mom and dad, starting his life. Everything's going great.
This is a prime frat era.
Yes.
American Pie.
Yes, except for he's not, he doesn't seem to be a super party kid or anything like that. He seems to be a pretty, maybe he's a nerd.
I love nerds.
I do too.
Very pro-nerd.
I'm a big fan of nerds. I'm a nerd. So he gets his roommates, and strange occurrences didn't start happening until months later. Okay. And Albie figured it was just his roommates. Like these are just things that happen when you have roommates. And sometimes he would find the milk in the cabinet, or his toilet paper would be unraveled.
I have a ghost too. It's called ADHD. I have so many ghosts, if that is the case.
You make me cough. Don't we all? So, or the toilet paper would be unraveled, or the sugar bowl being empty just days after he filled it. These things, they were just annoying to Albie. He always planned on talking to his roommates about it, but then he would always forget because he'd be busy with all of his college stuff or plans that he had or whatever. He'd just forget. And Albie finally blew his top when his transmission went out in his car. Being that he was so upset about the money he was about to spend on his car, he chewed his roommates out for wasting the things that he buys. His roommates got confused and didn't admit to anything, so Albie stormed off. After a while, his roommates started messing with him more than just things that he would buy, but they now started messing with his sleep.
Oh.
Yeah.
So pranks, dude. I'm so good.
Pranks are the worst.
I'm not a fan.
No.
No one wins a prank.
No. Except for when I prank. Yeah, I'm really good at it. So one winter night, he woke up at 3 a.m., freezing cold, and hearing dragging sounds coming from below him in the basement. No. The basement that bleeds blood. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Basement does. So he was hearing these dragging sounds coming from the basement. After the dragging sounds go on for a little bit, he hears someone whisper, "It's your turn. Do it. Chop, chop, chop."
It's Cox and Rogers.
Right.
Cox and Rogers.
Cox and Rogers.
Good old boys. Oh.
Thinking his roommates were drunk, he quickly fell back to sleep. He woke up the next morning drenched in sweat from a dream that he had where he was being chased.
Sorry, all I can think of is,
you're
so sweaty. I was watching Cops.
Cox and Rogers.
taking away from
I was watching Cops. Did you touch my drums?
No.
Sorry. Coming back.
It's scary. We're very scared.
Yes.
Also, even if, like, I just heard that out of context, that would be so weird. It's your turn. What are you doing?
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah. He just thinks they're drunk and being dumb, right?
I still have a lot of questions.
And so he just goes right back to sleep. Night night. He woke up the next morning drenched in sweat from a dream that he had where he was being chased. About a week later, he was getting ready to head to the laundromat, but then becomes pissed when he sees that his laundromat quarters are no longer on his desk. Albie runs out to the living room and accused his roommates of taking his money, but his roommates insisted that they didn't. During the argument, they heard a loud bang that stopped all of them from speaking. Then again, 2 more times.
Like a gunshot?
A bang.
Okay.
And so I was initially thinking a gunshot.
Yeah, that would make sense. That did happen.
Wasn't.
A couple of times.
Wasn't a gunshot.
Okay.
Would have made sense and been cool, but it wasn't.
I would have thought that was cool. My house. Cool.
So they all ran to the back door and stood there quietly for a moment until they heard a bunch of bangs. It was the storm door banging against the door, but they couldn't see who was doing it. So like it was being slammed. Their storm door was being slammed against their back door.
When the ghosts like knock at the door, like, and then they open the door and nothing's there.
Yeah, nothing like Black-Eyed Children, though, where it's like a methodical knock, 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 knock. Would you rather the banging or the methodical? If you had a choice.
If I had a choice, honestly, maybe the methodical just because I'm like, oh, maybe it's a person. But if I heard just banging on my door, I'd be like, I am not answering that.
I don't know. I think the methodical would freak me out a lot more.
You're like gonna be the crazy bag lady with talking about black-eyed kids. Be like, don't let them in. The children.
The children. Okay. So they couldn't see who was doing it. They thought maybe it was some frat boys just pranking them. Mm-hmm. So one of the roommates opens up the back door. They saw and heard nothing, not footsteps of anyone running away. So the roommate went into the backyard. After a moment, the roommate yells, "Holy shit!" Albie and his other roommate run out to see what is happening. And on the other side of the house, they see bloody handprints all over the side of the house. Some were smeared and streaked. And the handprint started at about shoulder height. And then moved.
Got shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, and then they like moved downward as if you're like sliding down, right? Yeah. And so the roommate that had initially ran out the back door in the beginning, he ends up falling to the ground, and his eyes roll back into his head, and he looks as if he's having a seizure.
The demons got him.
The demons. So. Like, his buddies are freaking out. Like, yeah, oh, my God, what's going on? You all right? You all right? You know? Uh-huh. And all of a sudden, he just stopped. Stopped seizing, stopped moving, stopped any sort of anything.
Breathing?
Well, it doesn't say that he stopped breathing. He just stopped.
Okay.
And he was still for a long moment. Then all of a sudden, he jumped to his feet and ran like hell.
So he was like Forrest Gump.
Yeah. And I was just running.
God, I can't imagine.
He was eating shrimp.
Really scared at the time seeing that happen, but also just picturing it. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, hilarious. I'd be like, what the fuck? Okay, we're running.
We're down it. I'm down again.
Yes. So at that point, Albie chases after him. The other roommate stays, but Albie is running after him. And while Albie was running, he remembered that this was his dream, where he had woke up all sweaty.
Oh, okay.
Only he was the one being chased, not the one chasing. Yeah. And then he started getting little flashes of all sorts of things that he had been doing, because he has not been himself since he moved into this house.
Oh, shit.
He hasn't.
Demons
Got him. So he starts getting little flashes of himself dumping out his sugar that he thought his roommates were
How
just
diabolical.
right. Dump out that sugar.
That'll teach him.
I'm gonna put my milk in the cabinet
So
Yeah.
pranks, dude. He's so pranks.
by himself. So, at this point, when Albie gets all of these things flooding back into his mind, he starts feeling a little bit more like himself, and then he's a little bit freaked out. Like, what the hell has been happening to me since I have moved into this house? And he just stops, and he turns around, and he runs back to the house. When he arrived at the house, he found his other roommate on the porch, terrified. He said he heard dragging coming from the basement.
Dragging the body up the stairs.
So he went down there, and that's when he saw the blood.
Oh, again?
Well, these guys haven't seen the blood
No,
yet.
I know, but it's
Well,
happening
I mean,
again.
they saw bloody handprints on the side of it.
That's true.
But yes, again, the walls
The bleed walls.
were bleeding.
Ooh, the bleed's coming out.
Yeah. They have a lot of blood in them. They must have transfusions often.
All the time. Their college students are broke.
Yeah.
Giving blood.
So the roommate that ran away, he was found the next morning walking around the Brownlee Reservoir, saying that he had to put himself back together.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he got possessed by Myrrh.
It's like they all got possessed.
By the different guys.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So Albie
That's crazy.
Albie moved back in with his mom and dad. They also lived in
Yeah.
Boise. He was like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. But the other two stayed in the house.
Are they alive?
Well, I mean, yeah, they didn't die in the house.
Okay.
But they stayed in the house until their lease was up. And then they moved out.
Okay.
But I'm just like, how the hell do you stay in that house?
You know, that's how I feel about you in your house.
She's talking shit.
I'm not talking shit. I'm being realistic.
I love my house.
See, they probably felt great otherwise. They were like, this happens sometimes, but it's whatever.
Our walls bleed from time to time, but
That's how you would talk about it. You'd be like,
It's
I just
true.
get yanked out of bed every so often. It's whatever. Like,
well, you're letting out my bag of secrets.
oh, shoot.
So, despite the stories and many other stories, like this is only a few, right? This is just a couple stories.
That are documented, yeah.
Yes. James Howell, the owner of the property, insists that this house is not haunted.
Sure. Sure. The murder house.
The Chop Chop house.
Totally not haunted. It's totally
What do you guys think?
normal.
Think it's not haunted, or you think that bleeding walls can cause a little bit of suspicion to a haunting?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Let us know your thoughts
Yeah.
on the murder house / Chop Chop house. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Thanks for joining, Misfits. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. After all, mystery loves company.